the silent revenge that breaks every avoidance cold wall. What really is the silent revenge that shatters every avoidance icy armor? Today, I'm exposing the psychological warfare most never notice. From the single act that flips their script, to the invisible timeline of their unraveling, to what truly unfolds in their mind once you stop playing their game. And finally, the quiet detonation that forces them to face what they destroyed and can never rebuild. This isn't about vengeance. It's about the truth they bury under layers of detachment. There's a moment, not loud, not dramatic, when the avoidance perfectly engineered emotional fortress collapses. Not because you yelled, pleaded, or exposed them, but because you stopped reacting. You didn't block them. You didn't send a manifesto. You simply disappeared from their emotional radar. While they expected rage or desperation, what they got was worse: stillness. And in that stillness, their greatest fear echoes. They no longer matter. Avoidants build their whole identity around being the one who walks away first, the one who doesn't need anyone, the one who stays calm while everyone else falls apart. But when you go silent, not angry, not bitter, just done, it hits them like a punch they never saw coming. They're used to drama. They know how to handle tears, accusations, begging texts. But silence? That's uncharted territory. Because silence doesn't beg for their attention. It proves they don't deserve any more. Avoidants are masters of control, breadcrumbing, hot and cold tactics, strategic vulnerability, all calibrated to keep you hooked while they remain emotionally untouchable. But silent revenge doesn't fight fire with fire. It removes the oxygen. When you stop caring whether they reply, stop dissecting their silences, stop hoping for change, their entire playbook fails. Suddenly, they're the ones refreshing your profile, analyzing your absence, feeling phantom pings of anxiety. The hunter becomes the haunted. They'll test you, maybe send a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" or like an old photo. Not because they miss you, but because they need to know if you still react. And when you don't, that's when panic sets in. They start replaying every conversation, wondering where they lost control. They'll even convince themselves you're playing games, that this silence is a trick to get them to chase. But deep down, they feel it. This isn't strategy. This is surrender. Your surrender. And that terrifies them more than any outburst ever could. Because for the first time, they're not pulling the strings. You are, by doing absolutely nothing. Silent revenge isn't cruel. It's clarifying. As indifference settles, the avoidant begins to see themselves through your eyes. Not as mysterious or powerful, but as predictable, small, replaceable. They realize you weren't just another admirer. You were the rare soul who saw their wounds, stayed anyway, and loved without demanding they be fixed. Now, you become the ghost of lost potential, the one person who could have healed them if they hadn't mistaken your patience for weakness. And the worst part? You didn't punish them. You simply chose peace. And that peace, it's louder than any scream. They start noticing things. How you used to remember their favorite snack, how you text just to check in after a bad day, how you held space with them even when they shut you out. All that warmth, gone, not taken, released. And that's what breaks them. Not because they want you back, but because they realize no one else will ever give them that kind of love again. Not unless they change. And changing, that's the one thing their ego won't let them do until it's too late. No grand exit, no final message, just nothing. Your silence becomes a monument to everything they threw away. Social media untouched, messages unread, not out of spite, but irrelevance. Their ego, built on being the one who walks away first, crumbles as they realize you didn't leave angry. You left free, and in that freedom, you handed them the ultimate punishment. Proof that love doesn't beg, it doesn't chase. It simply decides and moves on. For the avoidant, this isn't heartbreak. It's annihilation. Because for the first time, they're not feared, resented, or desired. They're forgotten. They'll sit with their phone, waiting for a sign, any sign that you still care. But your silence isn't empty. It's full of meaning. It says, I saw you. I tried. I'm done. And that's what haunts them at 3 a.m. when they're scrolling through old messages, wondering how someone so important just evaporated from their life without fanfare. They'll even try to rewrite history in their head, telling themselves you were too emotional, too needy, too much. But deep down, they know the truth. You were the steady hand they kept pushing away. And now that hand is gone. Not slammed shut, gently withdrawn. And that gentle withdrawal, it cuts deeper than any door slam ever could. They start comparing you to everyone else. New dates, Old flings, random matches, and none of them measure up, not because you were perfect, but because you were real. You didn't play games to win. You didn't punish to control. You just loved, and walked away when love wasn't enough to make them show up. That's what makes your silence so devastating. It's not revenge. It's evolution. You became someone they can't manipulate, can't confuse, can't pull back in with a half-hearted compliment or a late-night confession. You became untouchable, not by building walls, but by removing theirs. And that's the part that destroys them. They spent years thinking emotional distance was power. Turns out, true power is peace. The kind of peace that doesn't need validation, doesn't need closure, doesn't need them. And once they see that, really see it, something inside them cracks open. Not enough to change overnight. Maybe not enough to ever fix what they broke. But enough to know they lost something rare. Something real. Something they'll spend years trying to find again and never will. If you've ever felt powerless against someone who weaponized distance, this is your awakening. Silent revenge isn't about hurting them. It's about reclaiming your worth. It's not cold. It's clear. It's not cruel. It's conscious. You didn't win by fighting harder. You won by walking softer. Out of their chaos. Out of their control. Into your own calm. And if this resonated, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone trapped in the avoidance maze, and subscribe for deeper dives into attachment alchemy, emotional sovereignty, and the quiet revolutions that heal us. You're not broken. You're becoming bulletproof. And that's the real revenge. They'll try to come back, not because they've changed, but because your silence became too loud to ignore. Maybe at a random, "I was just thinking about you" text. Maybe it's liking a photo from 6 months ago. Maybe it's showing up at a place they know you go. But here's the secret they don't want you to know. Their return isn't love. It's panic. Panic that you're really gone. Panic that someone finally saw through the act. Panic that for once, they're not the one holding the power. And when you don't respond, not with anger, not with curiosity, not even with a "don't contact me again," that's when it hits them like ice water. You're not waiting. You're not watching. You're not wondering. You've already grieved them. You've already let go. And that's what breaks them more than any breakup ever could. Because breakups leave room for hope. Silence leaves only truth. What makes this so powerful is that you didn't need to explain yourself. You didn't need to list their failures or scream your pain into the void. Your absence did all the talking. Every unanswered message whispered, "You weren't worth my energy." Every unviewed story screamed, "Don't get to be part of my world anymore." And every day that passed without you chasing, that was another brick in the tomb of their ego. They start to see patterns. How they pushed away everyone who truly cared. How they confused control with safety. How they mistook loneliness for independence. And for the first time, they realized their walls didn't protect them. They imprisoned them. And you were the key they threw away. This isn't about making them suffer. It's about making them see. See that real strength isn't in walking away. It's in knowing when to stay and when to walk away for good. See that love isn't a game to be won. It's a gift to be honored. And see that the person they took for granted was the one person who could have helped them heal, if only they'd been brave enough to let someone in. If this resonated deep in your bones, give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who needs to hear that choosing peace isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Subscribe for more on how to untangle emotional traps, reclaim your power, and stop giving your light to people who only know how to dim it. You're not alone, and you're not too much. You were always enough. They just weren't ready to hold that, and that's not your loss. It's theirs. Forever they'll